All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make our way across the bridge here, but before we get going, as you probably noticed already, there is a double crossing here. So again, you can see the bridge for the Canadian Pacific. You can kind of see a little bit of its layout here. There are some concrete piers. There's some masonry piers. It looks like there's been some repair work that's been done to the masonry. You can see the overall style. The mileage on the Canadian Pacific, I believe, if I can read it correctly, is 73.93. All right, so we're going to make our way across the bridge here. So this bridge over the Black Sturgeon River, which is one of the bigger rivers in the area, is approximately 300 feet long. It is about 50 feet above the level of the river below us. We know exactly the height of the bridge. It's approximately 661 feet. It is a benchmark on topographic maps. So what's unique about this bridge is the fact that it does have the catwalks on the side and the railing. You don't see that on too many of the bridges on this line. So that's kind of a unique feature. The bridge itself is in pretty good shape. The ties themselves seem pretty decent. You can see the river below us here. So it is quite a ways down. You can see a little bit of the Canadian Pacific Bridge. The water is very high, very, very muddy. Lots of runoff this year. The wonderful aroma of creosote, my favorite. So here we can see the milepost for the bridge. And so 138.10. So again, that is the mileage on the Kinghorn. And so for the original lines, the Canadian Northern Nipigon Subdivision and the Canadian National Dorion Subdivision, we have to subtract the 49.7. And so that becomes 88.4. So milepost 88.4. You can see that there are some spikes still in the bridge timbers. I'm gingerly walking across. If you watch episodes of this, you know that I'm not good with heights at all, even though this is a fairly secure bridge. It's not too sketchy yet. Not my cup of tea. You can see there's the spike is very prominent in there. And so there is a station board over here on the Canadian Pacific, and that says Sprucewood, and so that basically marks it's the beginning of their Sprucewood station or Sprucewood siding on their line. So again, the Canadian Pacific was built much before this line was. So back, I think the date of construction in this area is around 1884, 1885. All right, so we finally arrived at the other side. And so here you can see looking back towards the east. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop down and we're going to take a look at the sides and the bottom of the bridge. What we're going to do is we're actually going to reuse some footage that we took back in 2020. Simply because the river is high and it's not going to be as easy to sort of see. And then we also brought the drone with us. And so what we're going to do is hopefully grab some great drone footage and we can kind of see it a little bit better from the sides and from the top. Okay, so we're down here below the level of the bridge. We are on the northwest corner, and so you can see the bridge structure above me. So basically it's like a girder type bridge supported by two piers, one on either side of the river. I don't see any date stamped on there. I do see some what looks like piles in the river over there. So this could have been originally a trestle bridge that was replaced by this type of structure. You can actually see the Canadian Pacific Bridge, where it's almost like a masonry type structure for the piers. Very similar type of bridge structure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to work our way right down on the more southern side and see if there's anything maybe on the front of these concrete piers, if there's a date or anything like that. All right, so we've moved over. We're now on the southwest corner of the structure, and so we're not quite down below at the level of the river. There is a pretty steep bank here, so it's not easy to get to. So you can see kind of the structure from here. Kind of gives you a slightly different perspective. If the sun came out, we'd see it a little bit better. If we work our way over here, back through the brush, there's a number of very large trees here. You can see a little bit more of the side profile for it. So you can almost see like there's a span here. And then it transitions into this truss or this girder type of thing. Again, I'm not an engineer, not an expert on bridges, but certainly these are very similar to those spans that we normally see with a lot of bridge structures. And then obviously this was slightly different because it needed to be a little bit more elevated above the piers. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our way back across the bridge, and then we're going to take a look at things from the eastern side. Okay, so we're down here on the southeast corner, and so you can see the structure just above us here. Down here you can see a pile in the water, and then across you can see some of the piles on the other side. Again, I don't quite know what the story is here. I can't see any date stamp or anything like that on the abutments or any of the concrete piers. I'm going with the assumption that because of that, because of what we saw, for example, with the Nipigon River Bridge, which we know is an original structure that did not have any markings on it, I'm guessing that these were probably original. These piles that we see in the water here were probably used to support the original construction of this structure. Again, we don't know for certain, but I'm just going off of that assumption. A lot of the later structures have a date on them, right? So from the Canadian national period forward, so after nationalization, you see a lot of dates on stuff. 1924, we've seen 1963, we've seen 1970, but there is absolutely nothing on these piers. They look very weathered. They look fairly old. So again, they could be original parts of the structure itself. Okay, so what we're going to do is basically this wraps up our exploration for today. We are going to be coming back just as soon as we can and continue push to the west from here. As I mentioned earlier, Cotland Station is just about a mile from here, so there's another station very close, and beyond that the railway line continues to the west towards Hercote, and then after that it's on to Dorion and other places. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's exploration, and again we'll be back just as soon as we can with more great finds and more explorations. So stay tuned.